Sorry. And welcome. Oh, no, that is the wrong one as well. Why is that on? Wow, okay. Why is it? Why? Hold on. The monitor's on the wrong one. Which layout is it? Why is it showing that now? I pulled it away. Acer. Excuse us a second. I hate everything. Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, prideofdetroit.com, Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Blue Sky. You know where to find us as we come to you live on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, youtube.com/@PrideDetroit. If you are watching live, you can tell I am hosting right now. I'm hosting the stream right now because of how this all started. So if you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry. I know it's not a visual medium. Let's just say that I started with the loading screen off, and then I turned around, and the monitor just went in a completely different way. So that'll all stay in the podcast, the false start, because we don't hide anything from you, except our lovely faces. Jeremy Reisman is here, the fearless leader at Detroit on Lion, and I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host, at Chris Perfett on Twitter, Perfett on Blue Sky, and Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. I just wanted to do all introductions right now. Hi, guys.
What's up, buddy? How we all doing?
That's Jeremy, just in case new people, because I usually introduce them separately so you can hear each of their voices. I'm just being extremely adequate. Hi, Ryan.
Hi. I'm wondering where the Rock God drop's going to go now, though.
In the wrong place.
Okay.
I think
perfect.
You know what? We'll just drop it right here. Okay. Fantastic. I'm sweating my butt off already on how else I'm going to screw this up. Anything else you guys would like to destroy me about?
No, but save that for your takes.
As if I haven't had enough of that already in my life. Welcome in. This is the Pride of Detroit PODcast in the doldrums of summer, here to talk about the Detroit Lions. We have some very exciting news. Listcast is back. Now, before you turn it off, it's not our big comprehensive list casts that we used to do. We're going to talk about quarterbacks in the NFC North, which is going to bring out some contention and some, what's the word I'm looking for? Partisan bickering, perhaps?
That was a great poll. I think those words apply.
I feel like if you've been waiting for us to actually have arguments on this show, this is probably a good time to do it.
We're finally embracing debate in year 10.
Oh my God. Hold on. I'll start playing solitaire on my phone when you guys are talking.
No. You got to play Balatro. Don't play solitaire. Play Balatro. Play something good. But first, let's discuss the defensive end position. Now, Brad Holmes says he likes the guys who are there right now and has confidence right now in the team's defensive ends. And why would he not? That he's confident in the rest of this crew with Marcus Davenport, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Ahmed Hassanin, and of course Aiden Hutchinson. But there is one free agent out there that is still dangling around, and that is a former Detroit Lion, Za'Darius Smith. And we are now past the June designations. We're past everything. It is June 16th as we are recording this, and Za'Darius Smith is still not signed to a team right now, Jeremy. And I know a lot of reports have said that he has an interest in returning to the Detroit Lions. So I guess the question is, what's the holdup?
Well, it's not just reports that Za'Darius Smith wants to come back. He was at the BET Awards last week and said it. He said, "I want to be a Detroit Lion." Even someone kind of egged him on and said like, "Hey, when are you signing?" And he said soon, which sounded more like a hopeful thing than an announcement per se. The holdup could be a lot of things. One is there's no reason to get it done right now. It's fair to believe that Za'Darius Smith did not want to participate in any team's spring program, so he didn't. He's probably waited to sign. It's a chance he might not want to really do training camp all that much and might sign towards the end of training camp. But I was on the midweek mailbag with Eric, and I said, going into this offseason, I thought there was less of a chance that he would re-sign with the Lions than a chance that he would, an under 50% chance. I think I am now swinging a little bit to over 50%, but I mean, finances are still a really big deal with this team right now. And as Brad Holmes continues to profess his confidence in the edge position, I don't think it's a guarantee that Za'Darius Smith comes back. They are, even with Frank Ragnow's contract soon to be off the books, even with, other guys that might not come as expensive, might be as expensive. I don't know if the Lions are going to spend an extra 7, 8, 6, whatever it costs, million on an edge defender, particularly when I think they really like Marcus Davenport as a starter, and that man is getting paid under $1.5 million for 1 year. So are you going to pay 5 times that for a rotational guy? That's a tough conversation to have.
What do you think, Ryan?
I think that Za'Darius Smith being in Detroit is more good than bad, right? And I think point blank at the end of the day, having more edge depth is not a bad thing in Detroit. And I think last year goes to show that. Now, the price point and all the things that Jeremy mentioned certainly have to be taken into account. And I think, if you want to answer the question, Jeremy outlined it pretty well. Like, probably didn't want to be a part of anybody's spring stuff. And with a team like Detroit, he was just here. So it's not like we need to get him in and get him caught up to speed, or he's going to a new team or anything like that. I think the Lions would feel confident in him coming in later in training camp, where it's like, we know who you are. You were just here a few months ago. It's not like we're getting a new guy who hasn't been in the building before. I mean, granted, he was only there for 3 months. So after
it is
the
a new
trade
coordinator,
deadline,
though, on top of it all.
Yeah, but I think Za'Darius Smith will come to Detroit with one thing to do, and it's just to rush the quarterback, right? So I think that's less of my concern, where it's like, okay, he's probably going to be a very specialized player. He's not going to play on a lot of early downs, ideally, right? It boils down to depth. It boils down to injuries with, Marcus Davenport, guys being ready if we're already talking about Ahmed. Like, I think there's a lot to shake out there, obviously, and I would really appreciate them signing Za'Darius Smith at some point, just so I don't have to listen to another ESPN article send Trey Hendrickson or TJ Watt to the Detroit Lions.
Those are going to keep happening, and I'm sure Shamar Stewart's going to pop up at some point too for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
I don't know if how much money is going to be an issue here, Jeremy. I know there's about $40 million, and I think the only rookie the Lions haven't signed yet is Tate Ratledge. So and I'm sure a lot of that's tied up, and now we're trying to figure out what position is he going to be scaled on here. Although I'm not even sure if there's a difference between center and guard. Ignore me. Either way, I think the Lions have plenty of cap space to handle Za'Darius Smith and whatever his demands may be, unless they are sky high.
Well, they have plenty of cap space this year.
This year, sure.
It's very clear that they are trying to hold on to as much cap space to roll over next year, because they are currently in the negative next year.
Yeah,
projections
50,
obviously.
Over $50 million in the red, I believe. But would they be viewing Za'Darius Smith as a next year, or I'm sure he would want multiple years, but I'm sure the Lions, an ideal situation would be 1 year.
Right, but the cap rolls over, right? So if you spend 7 million on him this year, that is 7 million that isn't going to roll over to next year. And so that's the ultimate thing here. And I'm with you guys. Like, and Brad Holmes is too, in a sense that he said in the past you can never have too many pass rushers, right? He's not dumb. He knows what happened last year. He knows the team would be better with Za'Darius Smith than without him. But like I think ultimately it is the price. It is how much are you willing to spend for a situational pass rusher who, to his credit, what do you have, 9 sacks last season, split between Detroit and Cleveland. It's it's a it's a it's a tough situation to be in for Brad Holmes because you want to save as much money, because you want to re-sign as many of these guys on rookie contracts as you can, and you have to balance the, do I think a guy like Marcus Davenport is going to stay healthy long enough and provide enough good play for us to a point where we don't need to spend 6 million on Za'Darius Smith, to a point where spending that much on a reserve would almost be reckless because you're throwing away cap space on a guy that is only going to play 20, 30, 40% of the snaps. It's 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 a lot tougher of a decision than I think people are making it out to be. I still kind of would prefer him to do it because I'm the kind of person that would rather deal with tomorrow's problems tomorrow, in terms of cap space and things like that. But if you have to be a smart general manager and keep the long term view in place, and sometimes that means cutting corners somewhere and crossing your fingers that an oft injured defensive end manages to get through a season not injured.
All right. Let's move on to the PFF positional rankings that we wanted to talk about, shall we? So, Pro Football Focus came out with their positional rankings. Lions came in with the third ranked roster, third best roster in the NFL. And I believe this was published after was it after Frank Ragnow?
No, I think it was before.
The offensive line ranks were before that. So, just going over this real quick. Offense, quarterback comes in ninth. Running backs, Gibbs is the fourth best running back. David Montgomery at the 21st. Wide receiver, St. Brown, 4th. J-Mo, 32nd. Laporta, the fifth best tight end. And they list Penei Sewell, sixth best tackle. Decker is the 24th. We'll talk about defense in a second, but this kind of dovetails in. How much do a lot of these rankings change without Frank Ragnow? And are a lot of these, like, where you expect things to be? Ryan, let's start with you. Let's talk.
Well, I think the most interesting thing right off the jump, you see that the Lions are ranked third amongst all NFL teams in roster, and the highlight for them was their biggest strength being their offensive line in 2024. Now, moving into 2025, I don't know if I can necessarily say that the Lions' offensive line is the strength of their football team. I think you can make an argument that maybe the safeties are the strength of their football team. You could make the argument that maybe their offensive skill players are kind of like the strength of their football team. I don't know if I can characterize the offensive line as being the strength of this football team until I see Tate Ratledge play center, until I see the interior of that offensive line. And it's going to have an opportunity to show itself, I think, in the early parts of the summer here with training camp starting a little bit earlier because of the Hall of Fame game and getting that extra game and getting a couple of joint practices. I mean, that's the thing that I want to be reassured, Jeremy, is that the offensive line is still the strength of this football team, even though I think all signs point to it being somewhere else on the team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the best unit on the team, I don't think you can say it's the offensive line anymore. Is the offensive line going to be bad? No, I don't think so. I think you still have really two solid tackles. Yeah, you still have Graham Glasgow in there, and then there are question marks beyond that.
The interior is young. The interior is young, and it's going to have to prove it. Like, we'd be doing this, I think even with Frank, if Frank had played to 2025, we'd still have some of these questions because we'd probably be talking about two guard positions as well. Now it's kind of like everything's pushed up, and we know who I think some of the starters are going to be. It's a matter of where. I think, but like we were going into the year talking about competitions for both guard positions. Like Graham Glasgow wasn't going to get handed the starting job here. Kevin Zeitler's departure really still put the Lions in a bind, and they were already trying to figure out one of their guards as well.
Yeah. The way I've put it in the past week or so is like the Lions were clearly preparing for a transition to get younger and cheaper on the offensive line. Frank Ragnow's departure just kind of expedites that process. Now, guys that maybe were going to have a year or two to marinate on the sidelines and practice and things like that, now they're pushed into the starting lineup. And I think it's fair to expect there to be some growing pains there. But they made the investment in those positions, right? They made the investment in a couple future guards. They made an investment in a possible future center. The hope is there for this to return to the best unit on the team. It just probably isn't going to be the best unit on the team in 2025.
So the defense rankings, Aleem McNeil 13th among interior defensive linemen, Reeder at 22nd, edge, Hutchinson racks in at 5, Jack Campbell as the 8th among linebackers, Reed coming in as the 6th. You have a link here to this is a link here to linebackers. Excuse me,
cornerback,
corners. Yeah, now, I know he's a corner, but like I keep pulling up the link and it keeps sending me to the linebacker page, so I'm thrown off there. And then to the point that safeties are the strength of this team, Ryan Branch and Kirby Joseph 5th and 6th accordingly. Let me just ask, is there any place you want to start on any kind of did the Lions get any disrespect somewhere, or is someone being overlooked, etc., etc.? My only quibble I really have is with Gibbs being 4th behind Bijan Robinson. I understand some people don't want to let the Bijan thing go just yet, but I mean, I think I can look at play on the field between Robinson and between Gibbs, and I can clearly decide that Gibbs is probably the better running back right now than Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I definitely made note of that on my list too, but I think we're too early in both those kids' careers to definitively say one is better than the other. It certainly stands out as odd just given the production of each back, but again, running back stats are so hard to put into context because it's also very much about the offensive line. Not that Atlanta has a bad offensive line, but it hasn't been Detroit's offensive line, right? So I think it's probably it's a little nitpicky there. Montgomery at 21 feels a little bit low, honestly. I think some of the guys that were on that list are better. Or he's better than.
Yeah, he's absolutely better than Tony Pollard at this point in his career. And Pollard ranks in at 18.
I just think Montgomery is extremely underappreciated. Both I would say both in Detroit and nationally, and it's only getting worse now that Gibbs is getting better. Because there's that narrative out there that's not why are you even giving David Montgomery any snaps? Because he's really good too. He's a really good tackle breaker.
Which is really funny from where we started this season too, where it's you just got to keep feeding David Montgomery. He's the hot hand. Why are you using Gibbs?
Right. But to me, the most interesting rankings to me, and I want to bring Ryan in here too because he's kind of been JMO's number one guy. I think both St. Brown and Jamison Williams rankings are fascinating. I'm surprised to see Amon-Ra as high as 4, above guys like Puka Nacua, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and then JMO at 32. I'm guessing, I'm putting words in your mouth here, but I'm guessing you find that a bit too low for JMO.
I think JMO at 32 is too low. He doesn't belong in tier 6. He doesn't belong ranked just behind Cortland Sutton and Deebo Samuel. Why is he ranked behind Josh Downs and Rashee Rice?
He's ranked behind Ladd McConkey and Chris Olave.
Okay, I can see McConkey in some kind of weird way, but with Olave, he struggled with injuries and the concussion stuff. That's a concerning thing as history rolls along. Some of the rankings are just all over the place. AJ Brown is not the best wide receiver in football. The Lions play Justin Jefferson enough to know that Justin Jefferson should be 1, and if he isn't 1, then Jamar Chase should be 1. And both those guys being ranked behind AJ Brown. PFF loves the Eagles, and I hate it. I get they won the Super Bowl, but it's you can see through all these lists. I do in their rankings because they're tiered, right? So tier 1 has those 3 guys: Brown, Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. And then they make mention about how Amon-Ra just missed out on being in that first tier, even though no receiver in the league has had a higher cumulative WAR or a better single season average WAR since 2022 than St. Brown. So it's he's super productive, but it feels like they're saying slot merchant, without putting it in words.
the second half of that entry says while his lower average depth of target suggests some of his production is scheme driven, which I think we can watch Amon-Ra St. Brown for a little bit and see that it's not scheme driven, and maybe you're valuing ADOT a little. We've talked about this a lot with St. Brown. Like he's going to continue to pay the tax in his reputation as one of the best wide receivers in the league because people are obsessed with ADOT, because he's not going out there for the deep ball like Chase or Jefferson.
And I think that may speak to Jeremy. I think that maybe speaks to why Jameson Williams ranks at 32nd, because his ADOT isn't incredibly high by any means. You know what I mean? And he is going to catch passes closer to the line of scrimmage. The difference is wait until you see Jameson Williams average at the end of a full season of play.
Yeah, and plus with the scheme driven stuff is always a really fascinating argument to me, because it's a little bit of chicken and the egg. Like, are you the beneficiary of this scheme because it features you heavily, or does the scheme feature you heavily because you're really good?
Yeah,
because
are you just perfect at what you do? So hey, let's have our scheme be that.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's selective on where it's applied too. Like, nobody's going to be like Justin Jefferson is the merchant of Kevin O'Connell's scheme. Right. It's like But even though we know like Kevin O'Connell's like offensive game plan elevates mediocre quarterbacks like Sam Darnold to a very good level.
Yeah. I do want to talk about quarterback really quick, because Goff is in tier 3A below. He's the first one in tier 3A, so that the 9 quarterbacks ahead of him are Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, Allen, Hurts, Daniels, Stafford, and Herbert. And listen, if you think he should be higher, you have to displace one of those 8 people, and I think maybe Justin Herbert is probably the easiest one to say maybe he's better than. It's interesting that Goff and Stafford still remain 2 players apart. But I think what makes me offended by him being 9th on the list, which to me in and of itself isn't that offensive, is that the tier he's in, he shares with just 2 quarterbacks, Geno Smith and Brock Purdy.
They're saying who his type is right there.
And that it does not feel like those quarterbacks are on his level. Like, I understand Brock Purdy took a team to a Super Bowl. I understand he put up one hell of a year that year and was arguably the MVP that year. Geno Smith does not belong in that tier at all. They traded him.
I'm looking at some of the quarterbacks who are in the 3B below, and I would think Baker Mayfield has his limitations, but
Baker Mayfield is better than Geno Smith.
Yes.
Well, I also I don't quite understand the description for tier 3B. Solid starters, but they need more help. Baker Mayfield needs more help. He's got Bucky Irving, who was a top 7 running back according to their rankings. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. What more help does Baker Mayfield need? Tristan Wirfs, one of the best offensive tackles in football. I love Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield at 13 is a little bit. It's not as fair because Jordan Love is 12, and I don't know how Jordan Love is 12 and is in the category of needs more help because he has a ton of wide receivers on his team, right?
I feel like that qualifier should go for Geno Smith. You can't just take what he was doing with the Seahawks and be like, yeah, you can do that on the Raiders with even less help.
Yeah, I mean,
he put that at nothing.
Some of the rankings are just kind of funny. I think it's more like a tier thing than it is actual numbers, just because they have tier 4 young players with a wide range of potential outcomes, and they have J.J. McCarthy ahead of Drake May and Michael Penix. It's well, J.J. McCarthy didn't even play last year, so I don't know how you're already putting him ahead of, and even they have him ahead of Caleb Williams. Right. Hey, I mean, it's very underrated. But I think Goff at 9 is totally fair.
Yeah, I said, you could really probably only displace 1 or 2 players above him. I just hate the tier that he's in. I feel like he should just be in just sneak him in the tier above there. But can we talk about offensive tackle, because I feel like that's the one that garnered the most hate, and rightfully so. I mean, we're talking Penei Sewell, arguably the best offensive tackle in football at 6.
We're gonna keep doing this Sewell versus Slater thing for until the end of time, aren't we? They put Rashawn Slater at 3, and I'm sorry, I know Slater's very good, but I'm not buying that. I'm just not.
They just have two veterans who are clearly on the downswing of their career in Trent Williams and Lane Johnson. I know Lane Johnson has been really good, but I don't know how you're putting him ahead of Penei Sewell on this list. And according to PFF, it's just like, oh, he'd be higher if he was a better pass blocker. And they kind of paint Penei to be like a bad pass blocker.
Right.
And I'm like, that's a mischaracterization of Penei Sewell. Like, yeah, he is an ass kicker as a run blocker. And I don't know, the Lions are really good at running the football, like one of the best teams in the NFL. So, like, maybe bonus points to him for that. But I don't know. Like I said at the top, Jeremy, it's just like Eagles love. It's just like Jordan Mailata is the number one.
I honestly, Lane Johnson is the only person I would put above Penei Sewell.
Really?
Period. Yes.
Okay.
Because I do think he's still performing at a very high level. I do think he's a Hall of Famer. I do think. I mean, I was watching some, Brandon Thorne and someone else talk about him as the best right tackle of all time, and he's still playing at that level.
I can hear the argument with Tristan Wirfs just on like how few pressures he allows, period. But like, again, this feels like PFF. Like maybe I'm buying into PFF a little bit here in that like their model is clearly like we love pressure rate. And but again, as you say, that kind of does not talk about like what Penei Sewell's done. But yeah. Do you have any
want to talk
guys?
some defense? Yeah.
I do. The tiers don't really exist for a lot of the defensive guys. I think Aiden Hutchinson is perfectly fine where he is right now.
Yeah. Well, I would say so the four above him are Garrett, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt, and Nick Bosa.
The one right behind him is fascinating, though.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. He's above Max Crosby, which is honestly a little bit surprising to me. I didn't think Aiden Hutchinson had earned enough reputation in 2.5 seasons to jump Max Crosby, who I think you could make an argument for him anywhere in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they do point out, though, that last year his 54 total pressures were his lowest mark since 2020, and Aiden Hutchinson had that through 5.5 weeks almost.
Fair.
Yeah, we're this is ultimately like everything else with Aiden Hutchinson is like because we haven't seen him since October. Like it's really, I think it's hard sometimes when it's so immediate in the NFL. Like they're clearly gaming it out a little bit more.
But and this is I'm prefacing trying to say that I'm not discounting Aiden Hutchinson's season, but one, I don't think he keeps up the pace that he did if he had played 17 games. Two, it at least needs to be put in the context that he faced backup tackles almost all season last year. I think he's still a top 5 pass rusher. Let me be clear. But if you're basing it just on his 2025 season, that context needs 24. It needs that context. But like he's still a top 5 guy.
How do you guys feel about? I'm still trying to put my head around Lee McNeil at 13 as a D tackle. I mean, it's in company where they would put Vita Vea, and behind him is Milton Williams. That feels about right. I'm trying to figure out like the rest of it. On top,
I got no beef with that.
Yeah,
Reader at 22 is a little bit higher than I expected. At this point in his career,
a legacy grade.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I do think he'll probably play better this year than he did last year, just by nature of not coming off a major injury, not spending 95% of his offseason rehabbing. But that's a little bit high. I'll take it, but it seems a little high.
I think Jack Campbell at 8 might be a little high. Mostly because the linebacker was such an interesting group last year because it feels like it's finally that transitionary period where like I don't know if we see a lot of oh my god, why am I blanking right now?
Do you need help?
No, I do need help, but that's not the point.
What do you want me to do right now?
No. I mean, never mind. That was
Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes.
Okay, I was like pausing because I was going to put a break.
I don't know what this means. This is not. Go.
I feel like this is a transitionary year with like we're not going to have too much of Alex Anzalone, and like Malcolm Rodriguez is kind of downgraded now towards like rotational. So like Yeah, I mean, linebacker's a little hard for me. I still think he's got a lot to prove this year. But
I think Alex Anzalone is the best linebacker on this team,
And he's not
yes,
on this list.
and he's not on
he's
this
not.
list.
He's not even on the list. Yeah.
So and seeing Jack Campbell as a top 10 seems, I agree with you. It seems a little premature. They note that he improved his coverage last year, and I think that's true. And I think he has the potential to jump into being a top 10 linebacker, but I think Alex Anzalone is by far the best linebacker on this team. They're going to continue to lean on him. I would not be surprised if they pay him at some point this offseason. I hope that they do. But yeah, those rankings were a little surprising. And honestly, like, I think maybe what's more surprising is just it feels like we're kind of losing the era of elite linebackers a little bit. Like this list, the entire list is a little like, oh, I guess he's that high just because there's no one else that I'm like, oh yeah, he's a better linebacker.
Yeah, like Edrin Cooper ranks in at 9 as well, even though that's what that was just his rookie. That was just his rookie year last year. So,
And
yeah.
if I can parlay this into another discussion, I think part of the reason why maybe linebackers aren't as good or aren't as sexy anymore is because I think we are in an era of elite safeties. And the fact that Brian Branch was in 5th, Kirby Joseph was in 6th, a lot of people took offense to that. But man, the 4 ahead of those guys are also really damn good. You got Kyle Hamilton, you got Xavier McKinney, you got Bates, you've got Antoine Winfield. Like, all those guys are dudes. All those guys deserve to be in the top 5 discussion. And I can't say, like, with outright certainty that Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph are better than all of them. I think they all belong in the same tier, and you can order them however you really, really want to. It's easy for us as Lions fans to say, like, oh, yeah, definitely. Kirby Joseph led the league in interception, blah, blah, blah. Like, I understand all that, but I think all these guys are just as much game changers for their respective teams as Brian Branch is, as Kirby Joseph is. And the Lions should be honored to have 2 guys in that top tier.
Lot of Lions alumni in here though. Deshaun Elliott, 29th for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I love that.
Maybe the most head scratching inclusion is CJ Gardner Johnson at 13th. Which I think that
Hey,
does
man.
a discredit to the safety position in the NFL. But the one other thing I want to say though is that with the Lions having Branch and Kirby at 5 and 6, I mean, the only other duo that's even comparable is C.J. Gardner-Johnson at 13, and then Jimmy Ward, 19, with the Houston Texans. Like, I mean, and we can already call the C.J. Gardner-Johnson ranking is a little bit, erroneous. So, like, be happy that Lions definitely have the best safety duo in the NFL. Like, that I think that goes without saying.
You know what's another great duo, Ryan?
Righteous Felon and Kraft Jerky.
I was going to say Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and the Pride of Detroit POD cast.
Okay, yeah, it's been harmonious so far.
Yeah. I think that is a fantastic duo, and we'll make it better with 15% off your order. Because Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and Meat Sticks fuel the Pride of Detroit POD cast with 2-ounce bags of jerky with 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each meat stick has 8 grams. If it's good enough for us, it'll be good enough for you too. Trust me about this. We love this stuff. We love telling you about it. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced all-natural black Angus beef and prides themselves on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. And I mentioned 15% off. If you go to righteousfelon.com, you'll be able to put in your order anywhere in the US of A and get 15% off using the promo code POD15 at checkout, POD15. It helps us out. It helps you out because you get meat, and everyone's happy. Everyone's happy with the arrangement. So go to righteousfelon.com, use promo code POD15 at checkout, get 15% off your order, and get the best meat snacks around. When we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast, I'm going to have to remember where I put the list cast music. That's next. All right. Sorry.
What's up, everybody?
Apparently, Charity 2024 is showing up on my thing. You guys are grading my transitions now. Okay, great. Fantastic. So Ruby was like yelling at me at the end there too, so I had to like bob him on the nose. he's gotten extremely picky about his food.
Is he grading your transition? Is that why he was yelling at you?
Well, like, I was, like, trying to think on a couple things because my brain is clearly frying when I can't choke out Alex Anzalone's name. So all of a sudden I hear, even with the headphones on behind me, a yowl, even though I just gave him a whole bowl of Fresh Pet.
Maybe he was saying Alex Anzalone.
He's trying to help me out, you think? He was trying to be my producer?
Could have been.
Interesting. All right. Yes,
I don't have alerts in front of me, so
I can do them, and I can do them I can like ram through them pretty quick as soon as I figure out which tab is my Streamlab. Dan also, I think Dan Pask also wanted to ask me a question. I told him to ask it again during break. You guys were on 5 days ago, so I can ignore all these alerts from 5 days ago, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with no decaf. I have no clue who that is. That person is probably not a good person. Resubscribe using the Prime subscription for 51 months, saying 51 months of adequacy and goofs. McVeigh Rob resubscribe using Prime on Twitch, which reminds us, if you have Twitch and you have Amazon Prime, you can link the two accounts. You get a free Twitch sub every month. You have to use it manually each month, but you can subscribe to us, and we will thank you for it. McVeigh Rob, 29 months, says, we'll do it live. Wizard 70, 51 months, saying, 51 months? Insane. And just one more month until the loins are kind of back. July, baby.
Hall of Fame game about 5-6 weeks away.
I know. Thomas J. Hutchinson, 28 months, says, let's go loins. The Pintar, 23 months, says, oh, hey, look, it's the best to ever do it. And Healthy Sweater 1, 47 months with us, just subscribing at Tier 1. A healthy sweater. And that's it.
Hey.
See how easy this is?
Well, yeah, when you don't have a Chris interrupting you.
You let me. You tried to interrupt me, and I go right back to it. That's called
No, I threw in one sentence and gave it back to you. That's what happened.
I even step away, and you're still, like, struggling to get them done.
I'll take some blame then. I'll take some of the blame pie. As long as it tastes like key lime. Key lime is objectively the best kind of pie, right?
Yes, 100%. Do you do graham cracker crust or Oreo crust?
On key lime pie, graham cracker.
Yes.
Oreo with key lime?
Try it sometime. Try the Oreo crust with key lime pie.
Ooh.
Seems like a straight shot to gout.
That just seems like a slight clash in flavor, but maybe not. I don't know.
So I remember going down to Key West when I was young, and they had frozen chocolate dipped key lime pie on a stick. Was a big treat around there. So chocolate absolutely goes, like a chocolate cookie crust will absolutely go well with key lime.
Well, speaking of chocolate pie, I drove by a Burger King that somehow has lasted as long as it's lasted. I don't understand how Burger King's in business.
Stick
I never
around,
see
man.
Burger King in their drive-thru, but like I passed my childhood Burger King the other day, and it finally closed its doors, and I immediately wanted a Hershey pie. I immediately wanted a Hershey pie.
That used to be a treat of mine as a kid.
Yeah.
That and Cinny Minis.
I don't think I ever had them.
I loved Cinny Minis.
I don't think I've ever had one. I used to fiend a lot for Arby's apple turnovers, though.
They do something. Wendy's has some kind of partnership with Cinnabon, Jeremy. They do something.
Oh,
breakfast.
They're like little fried balls, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I think I've had them. They're whatever.
Yeah. Not as good as the Del Taco's cheesecake bites.
I have not.
You can find yourself a Del Taco.
I have yet to go to Del Taco in my life.
I'm pretty sure I got those one time, and I was like, I had to drive like way out of the way. Like there wasn't a Del Taco for like 30 minutes, and I drove out of my way to get them, and I was like, okay, it's kind of worth it.
I feel like getting any kind of like baked dessert fast food that isn't like. I don't trust anything that isn't either like an apple pie based or it's like ice cream.
I don't think there's a baked fast food dessert that I don't adore.
I just like the apple turnovers and what
the caramel apple empanada. Is that,
oh my god!
What's the one at McDonald's? Is just apple
anymore,
pie.
Yeah, they're apple pie.
Yeah,
Also
those are
great.
apple pies. But
Yeah.
empanadas haven't been on the menu for a minute, right? They did. They
They
brought
brought
them
'em
back for the
back.
decades thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's gone. Because like it's fried food. Fast food can do fried food.
You know what I finally went out for the other week? It was warm enough here. I went out and found a frozen yogurt place, and I really miss Froyo.
I was gonna say that trend is past.
Very.
I don't know
nice.
I don't know what's replaced it.
Nothing.
Cell phones.
Lean.
Everybody's on their
Tussie.
cell phones.
But like, is there right now like a fast food trend? Like we had the chicken sandwich for a while. Is
Oh,
it
yep.
just like chicken tenders?
We're bringing back
Like
the chicken wraps, I guess.
Hmm.
Every now and then, one place finally decide, hey, let's bring back the snack wrap, and McDonald's finally gets their act together and tries to challenge them back. But that's really
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think
They don't get credit for bringing them back when everyone has been saying to do it for. It's kind of like
and they're gonna
HBO
come
Max going back to HBO Max. Like you don't get credit for that.
they're going to
Don't
come back so expensive too. Like those chicken tenders at McDonald's right now are like fast food has gotten extremely expensive.
It has.
So you shouldn't. They shouldn't get credit. Brands, corporations shouldn't get credit for getting bullied into doing what
No,
is the
absolutely.
right thing.
For
That is the
canceling
base
something
minimum.
that was dumb in the first place. Everyone liked the snack wraps. Everyone thought HBO Max was fine.
Yeah.
You can't do this. Wow, look at it. And I understand why they're doing it. Like, of course you're gonna do it because you're doing something that's widely popular and you're gonna do a little victory lap over it. But you didn't earn it.
Not only are there no trends, I think right now in fast food, I don't even see commercials for half that shit anymore.
I kind of feel like the trend is going back to the trends.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of people
nostalgia.
are like, let's go back to the hits. Like,
I mean that's always there, yeah.
Bring back the Wendy's potato bar.
God.
the
the super bar.
Mine had a
The super-
full salad bar too.
Yeah.
It was like salad,
We
tacos,
talked about this, like, a
potatoes.
couple
Yeah.
years
yeah,
ago.
that's right. Yeah.
If we get if we are, I mean, I think I've mentioned multiple times that I am just an absolute sucker for buffets. Completely knowing that it's crap quality, I just love them. It's of all of my worst takes and worst intuitions, whatever. That is my. It's just my weakness. It's my kryptonite. Give me any kind of like. I don't care if it's a pizza buffet. I don't care if it's Chinese food buffet. I don't care if it's a potato bar buffet, a Las Vegas buffet. Give me them all.
If Pizza Hut wants to return and start opening up places to have the lunch buffet, let's go. Let's do that
Yeah.
right now. Like I'm kinda tired of
I'll
this.
sit there and eat a breakfast or a dessert pizza for 2 hours straight.
I was going to say if they really want to impress me, McDonald's needs to start bringing in like all the stuff from their international places. But I realized they did that, but they also chickened out and did some of the lamest stuff. Like they don't do really interesting. I remember it because they had like a burger from Spain, but it's like it's clearly McDonald's USA trying to do the item from McDonald's Spain, and it's just not good.
Yeah, I just actually looked up because you're talking about buffets. They don't have any CC's pizzas in Michigan anymore.
Really?
Nope.
Yeah, which like I mean that was a staple when I was in high school. Was going to like CC's Pizza and just absolutely messing up that pizza bar. But like
Yeah. And the cinnamon bread?
oh
It tells
yeah.
me I gotta
oh
go
my
to
gosh, the cinnamon
ever-
bread. Yes.
Jeremy, did you ever go to Shakey's when you were here in L.A.?
Yeah, like once, yeah. My buddy used to live very close to a Shakey's, and I think we went there once
yet to
before or
go.
after a Lions game.
I've yet to go. I might have to. I think there's one up in like San Fernando or no Porter Ranch. Might have to
Yeah.
do that.
Listen, we yeah, you.
You.
I think we can all agree Cece's Pizza is not good.
No.
But it was
But you're not
cheap.
going there for good.
And and they had like weird pizzas. Like they had a mac and cheese pizza, right? I know that doesn't sound weird anymore, but it felt weird at the time.
Yeah, yeah. They were like let's just get funky with our pizzas because they're not the best quality, so we have to be in it for the novelty aspect.
No, goof. There is no such thing as an inedible pizza. I've never met an inedible pizza. I will eat frozen. I will eat 7-Eleven. There is no such thing as an inedible. I used to because of where I used to work, in LA, there was a 7-Eleven across the street. Everyone would eat there because it was cheap and we were making no money. And it was $1 for a slice of 7-Eleven pizza. And I probably, over the course of my time working there, had at least 50 slices.
I was gonna say, how many dollars did you spend in 7-Eleven pizza?
Someone is saying Altoona style, and like Altoona pizza is perfectly fine until they put the waxy cheese on top of it.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh God, this is like, hold on.
Is that the St. Louis style?
No. St. Louis is still, you can kind of like think of it as a pizza, right? Because it is,
it is what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's not pizza. That's not pizza.
But like that looks perfectly like pizza until they put the cheese on top. Like, because the objection there is that cheese.
That's a Movember punishment. Maybe that is a Movember punishment. Altoona pizza.
Is that just like Velveeta singles on top of it or something? It has.
It looks like it.
I want no part of that. I'm mesmerized by CC's Pizza having 270 locations in the United States and 132 of them are in Texas.
Literally half of them.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
132 in Texas, 23 in Florida, and then like the next closest state is like South Carolina with 10.
That is called
wild.
That's called a Buc-ee's distribution.
Yeah,
it's
wild.
like, for what one of my coworkers showed up with like a Buc-ee's bag or something, and I'm like, where do you even find a Buc-ee's in California?
I don't think I've ever seen one.
You know what they are though, right?
Yeah, they're gas stations, right?
It's gas stations / grocer
convenience
at the same
store.
time.
Right.
No, it's
Are they
more
one of
than a
those
convenience store, but yeah.
They have like showers too for like truckers and stuff.
Yeah, and they usually carry like animal feed and all kinds of stuff like that. But like they're kind of in that same distribution where it's like heavily Texas, but then also some in Florida and South Carolina.
I didn't know that there were still 7 Golden Corrals in Michigan, and there's still the one that I used to go to in Flint.
Golden Corral, right up my alley, man. It's terrible food, but I love being there. I love
there is
that they have a chocolate fountain I can stick things in.
I to be honest,
Food.
I might this
Here,
week
stick
go
food
into
in.
it.
Sorry, stick
Okay.
food in. Thank you. Good save. Good save.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Ponderosa is still a thing?
Oh, no way.
Ponderosa is not it can't be.
It says that there's one in Bay City, Michigan.
God, I don't know. I don't remember what city it was in because I was too young to really know. But there was one that I loved going to, and my dad hated it, but he would get the steaks there. He'd be like, "Yeah, you guys eat this crap food. I'll get the steak."
Not a buffet, but someone sent me a picture of speaking of like only in like upstate or like other parts of Michigan that isn't Detroit. Someone sent me a picture of Olga Stackers the other day on Blue Sky, and I was like,
"There's an Olga's right by the Lions facility."
I miss that shit.
Well, I haven't been to Olga's in a long time.
Perfectly seasoned snackers and almond cheese.
You guys mess with Chinese buffets at all?
Yes, there was one in Toledo, and I used to go to that. It's not Chinese, but I know there is like, actually I think it is. It's like an Asian buffet that's over here near Canoga Park, and I was going to say I might have to go to it this week just because I've never been, and I'm kind of craving new experiences right now.
If you can find one that has sushi included, and I know again that's not Chinese.
This is the Valley. All you can eat sushi places. There's like 3 of them within driving distance of me.
True,
like,
but not so much in the Midwest here.
Yeah,
I'll eat some. That's another food where I'm like, I don't care about the quality that much. Like I'll eat grocery store sushi all the time. I've gotten it from 7-Eleven before. I understand that's the stretch. But
That is a stretch.
Goofa is a Toledo guy because he knows exactly the one I went to in Toledo, Ocean Garden. Yeah, with all you can eat crab legs were there.
I think maybe the biggest risk I've ever taken in my life was when I was getting sushi from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, like I think I told you guys the story about when I got sick because I got a egg salad sandwich on Manager's Special at Meijer.
Oh, God.
You guys were like, "Oh, that's
Manager.
dangerous." I'm like, "But you're eating gas station sushi?"
It's happened before.
Do you guys, how much of a risk is it when you go to like a Kroger's and see those like extreme markdown stickers on it? Do you guys fuck with that at all? Because
all the time.
I was going to say I've taken some
Absolutely.
risks, but I've jumped on those lately.
I grabbed a
Public
loaf of
school
bread.
teacher.
I was out of town over the weekend, and I still had some leftover food. I'm house sitting now, which is why I'm not in the green screen. And so I grabbed some of the food this afternoon that was at my house, and I got some moldy bread
Let's go.
that I did not realize was moldy.
Which pieces are good though? Which pieces are okay?
You joke, but I definitely went through that
I
thought
will-
process for a second.
I will do the meat just because it's usually like, hey, unless it's like blackened or something, like
Yeah.
usually it basically means we've got to get rid of this tomorrow. So it's like I will buy it and use it today or freeze it. And I've gotten
Yeah.
like, I think I actually just did a pork shoulder with that.
Yeah. Oh, meat to me is genius because like you just cook it that night and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The things I don't mess around with probably the most are like dairy products and
Oh,
like
God.
lettuce. Nothing is worse than like real slimy lettuce. If there's one of those like salad packages though that's like $1.80 because it's manager special, I'm like,
You'll roll the
I can
dice
just-
on $1.80.
yeah, and plus I can see it all, right? Like I can
Yeah.
literally see it in its package, and if it's not, disintegrating in its own slime, then it's mine.
The
I'll take it.
dairy, absolutely stay away. Like,
Yeah, don't. So back when Farmer Jack was a thing,
oh, God.
if you found an expired food that wasn't like labeled manager special, you could get it replaced for free and just have it. And so like we just like in high school just used to raid and be like we'd get yogurt, we get donuts, we just like try to find as much free food as possible.
Jeremy, that's free labor. That's what they were getting out of you. I mean, I guess transactionally they were giving you like the food in exchange, but like
Yeah.
you were they called it at Coke, they called it was it like FIFO? Like first in, first out. So like when you're rotating the shelves, you're like
Yeah.
pulling everything from the back to the front and everything. You were
Yeah.
doing that for them.
But I was getting the fresh version. They weren't giving me the expired stuff and say you can have that for free. They were replacing it for free.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, but you were doing work for cheaper
That's
than
fine.
minimum wage.
Couple more alerts coming in here. J Pook 730, 32 months. Ryan Matthews doesn't get any more prime. And
Huh?
7 minutes. What? Just prime.
I subscribed.
No, J Pook did.
Oh, good.
But he just
His
says Ryan
message
Matthews.
mentioned your name.
Oh, I didn't know if
Actually,
you
I
were
think
talking
it's
about me or
talk-
the running back.
I was going to say it is 2 T's. So
It's not me.
Nick the Greek, 100 bits, saying during the Matt Patricia years, enterprising beak reporters would stake out the local Golden Corral buffet on unlimited fried chicken night. It was the only place Matty P felt comfortable enough to share information as a source. I like that we're still doing this. And now he's just spamming 1-bit ones, but my policy on Nick the Greek is you're going to at least spend 100 bits to get read.
It's fair. He's just talking. He's ranting about Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Bucci's.
So I don't think Dan's posted again, but he did want to ask about the Shamar Stewart situation. And again, Dan, if you're hearing me right now, Dan Pask, if you could like post it again so I can get the exact line about it. But I think he was I think it was about the particulars.
I've not been following this story, so I
so-
don't have information here.
Yeah, again, I want him if he can post it again so I can at least like remember what exactly I'm supposed to answer. Sorry, I'm like scrolling up trying to find it, and I just it's too far.
He just posted it.
yeah,
posted something.
like the Bengals want to take his guarantees away unilaterally. So the language they want is basically yes, if his contract goes into default, like if he gets suspended or hurt or whatever, basically all the guarantees are voided. So, like, that's the language they want to put in there versus the past language, which is it's only voided in the year which he would default. And I'm trying to find the clip I had, the actual like written clip I had that I like reference on this. Now, I was under the impression for a while that this was pretty well, like, apparently, I had heard from someone, from a Cincinnati person, that this was like, yeah, here we go. The clause stipulates that any default in a given year would nullify all remaining guaranteed money in the contract. Historically, for the Bengals, that's only voiding the guarantees for the specific year of the default. Now, I was led originally, like, from at least one person that this is like kind of becoming boilerplate around the rest of the NFL, which I don't know if that's true. And I believe they were doing a show with Adam Kaplan over the weekend, who covers the Eagles and the NFL, and he made this sound very much so that, like, it seems like this was something unique to the Bengals, this kind of language. So I don't know what's going on with it. I do know that Shamar, from people who have worked with him, is incredibly smart, that this probably popped up on the radar immediately. There's a way for him to go back to the NFL draft. He would have to, like, sit out another year or so or something. It's a long process. But I think he's completely within his right either way, regardless of how widespread it is, to say that I want the same deal other Bengals players got in the past. And it's a very Bengals issue right now. It's a bad look to be doing this while also fighting with Trey Hendrickson.
It's a bad look, but it's also June. Like, if he's not there for training camp, then it's an issue.
Yeah.
Is it ideal for a rookie to be there for rookie minicamp, to be there for OTAs? Yeah, of course it is. Is it the end of the world? No. Is it such a hot topic because we have nothing else to talk about right now? Absolutely. Also because the Bengals are notorious for stuff like this. Also because, like you said, Trey Hendrickson stuff is going on. And so I'm not discounting the fact that it might roll over into training camp. Could even roll over to the regular season. I mean, the nuclear options of him sitting out the season and getting redrafted seem extremely unlikely. But I guess it's worth noting that I guess is a possibility. It would be literally unheard of.
I think it is all being weighed on the fact that it is the Bengals right now. And
yeah.
it is kind of a bit of a blow to the reputation of the Bengals that it felt like they were kind of getting away from this after the Super Bowl run. And already I'm hearing people like, I don't think they're in money trouble, Ryan, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with them, to be honest. It feels weird. It feels weird that they, like, I've never seen a team beefing this hard over a rookie contract.
I mean, aren't they? I mean, but I think it lends itself to just like a historical argument, right?
Yes,
it's like
yeah.
it happened with Carson Palmer. It happened with, insert player X from Cincinnati.
And
Bengals.
like facility stuff too, right? Like they're just all notoriously cheap about all that sort of stuff. And that goes back not to the GM, not to the coach, to the ownership. Ownership has been notoriously cheap. And so having these extra protections, not that surprising.
Like there was the tale under Marvin Lewis about how few scouts they had. I think it was two scouts for their entire department. Like Mike Brown didn't want to pay for scouts. He wanted to rely on the NFL reports.
Which I think is an interesting discussion, though, because, like, I mean, how many times? I mean, that was the thing about Marvin Lewis, right? Is he was like Mr. Sneak into the playoffs. He was like 9-7 before Jeff Fisher could, stamp himself with that moniker. But like, I think for the longest time, while I think people were way too loud about ownership in Detroit having so much to do with like the team's ineptitude. Like it definitely has a lot to do with it, right? Like it has a lot to do with it, and I think for so long I think there were enough instances in which like things popped up, right? Where it was like, oh, Jim Schwartz has something brewing, or like, oh, look, Jim Caldwell's got this team going in the right direction, and then like the bottom falls out. So like, ownership isn't everything. However, it's a lot more than something. Right? Like,
yeah.
And I think the Bengals have kind of proven that too. I mean, they made a trip to the Super Bowl. They were one play away from blocking Aaron Donald for another half second from potentially winning a Super Bowl, right? Like,
You can win in spite of ownership, but in the long run, it can drag you down.
You can draft
Yes.
really well. You can nail Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and you can make the move to get Trey Hendrickson, and you can sign all the right free agents. But keeping all those guys happy with contracts and taking care of people,
Right.
it makes something that's already really hard even harder,
Yes.
right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of Lions fans, it was like, oh, it's 100% the reason, and it's like, no, it's not.
Right.
But
There's two pieces of context here. Number one, I think this would still be happening if they had won the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
to be
100%.
incredibly clear. The second thing is like I understand too, in that Shamar Stewart is a very rough project that they picked up in the first round, and I can understand that if it doesn't pan out, you're going to want some certain guarantees. But you're the one who drafted him in the first round.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like
I don't know if
you
there
knew
are
the
character
package you were
concerns
signing
about
up
him.
for. No. So I do a show
But
on the weekend.
why
with
would you
TJ
be so
Hushmanzada,
adamant about
and
this provision if you weren't worried about it?
I work on a show for TJ Hushmanzada on the weekend, former Bengals wide receiver, and like he gushed nonstop about Shamar Stewart. Like he even said by his own thing, it's like I mischaracterized him. I thought for one reason or another he would not, but he's like incredibly intelligent and incredibly stand up. So like I don't. This
It
sounds
was
like a tempest of their own
fascinating.
making.
It was fascinating to see a rookie hold a media session like he did. He's in
And
the
call out the
facility.
team.
He's in, and it didn't seem spiteful, right? Like if you listen to that whole thing, it didn't seem spiteful. It seemed like, hey, I'm very confident in my own position. I understand why they feel that way. I mean, there was a little bit of shot taking, like this, this isn't anything new with this organization.
They
some
want
of
to
that.
win arguments rather than win games.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it still, to me, did not come off as like over emotional at all. Like he didn't
or
lose his
petty.
cool or petty. Exactly.
Yeah.
I gotta go to the bathroom really quick. I see there are a lot of Nick the Greek 100-bit donations, so have fun with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really open up the can by saying 100 bits. Matt Patricia got the lowest RAS score in history after mistakenly believing that the 10-yard split was an ice cream eating contest. Kenny Golladay never recovered from his hamstring injury because every working hot tub in Allen Park was dedicated to keeping a pallet-sized delivery of nacho cheese and or turkey gravy at serve-safe temperatures. The Allen Park operations team was referred for a forensic audit during the Matt Patricia years due to a nearly five-fold increase in plumbing costs and jacuzzi repairs. The auditor was handed a wad of matted gravy-soaked bearded hair when he came to ask questions. Bucky's is like Walmart's kid brother that only wants to have 8 kids and play in his Skinnerd cover band every weekend. Okay. That is out of the way. Ryan, I know, you know what? I'm going to hold off on the U.S. Open because I know Jeremy watched the end of that. But I don't, and I think before we started, I asked about if you knew anything about the Rafael Devers situation. You don't.
I mean, I read a little bit about it, but
It's just a shocking deal, really. But gets him out of
Yeah,
the AL, I guess.
but like not all that shocking. Like when you say, when you hear some people trying to compare it to the Luka trade, like that's the part where it's like there were rumblings of like this contract's too much.
Yeah.
Like they want to save money. He's not playing. Like they don't want him at third base. So like, I mean, it truly felt like similar to like the Miguel Cabrera discussion that kind of went on here in Detroit for a long time, where it was like, okay, he's not playing third anymore. Then eventually it was like, okay, he can't even play first a whole lot. Like you can't count him on, doing that every day. But with Boston too, like this is again me just reading ESPN and kind of reading like them grading the trade and everything, but like they had enough young bats that they had promoted that it's like, well, like you shouldn't be platooning those guys and taking opportunities away from them.
Yeah, they just called up Roman Anthony, I think. Like,
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the thing is where it's like, yes, it was like it's a blockbuster trade. Like it's a really big move. Like it's a superstar player who like is now, going to a team that really needed his bat production. But like Luka Doncic felt like it was done in the middle of the night. Like it was like
yeah.
the Baltimore Colts moving.
I think where why people make the alignment is that, again, I think much like Luka, a lot of teams are now saying they didn't even aware Rafael Devers was up on the block. Like he was just like they just jumped on the horn, made the deal with the Giants, and shipped him to San Francisco.
And maybe that was the case, right? Like they just found a deal that they liked in San Francisco, so they didn't shop it around. But like me, average baseball fan, like I knew that Rafael Devers and the Red Sox situation was becoming untenable. So
I mean,
well,
it was
if you didn't call, then maybe you weren't doing your job.
It was just funny because I had just transitioned to the news desk at Fox Sports Radio at the time, and I was like still wrapping my head around the Desmond Bain deal. And like it was funny listening to it being called a blockbuster deal, which it is because of the amount of capital being involved with it. But it's kind of a dissociation in my mind because I'm not terribly familiar with Desmond Bain's game or why he's worth KCP, Cole Anthony, and 4 unprotected first-round picks. And then this came down and seemed to just blast all of that out of existence. So,
yeah. Big summer for the Pistons. Can't wait. Excited. I hope they don't.
Hey,
their future.
While you guys are talking baseball, I have a little bit of a surprise for you guys.
Oh, I was supposed to remind you.
Yeah, that's okay. I remembered. I'm going to need to share my screen with you. The fellows over at Talking Grit, who, if you don't know, they were on our podcast 2-3 weeks ago.
What is the layout? I'm like trying to find the layout for just there we go. Okay.
Just like desktop or something.
Yeah. I just
up. They sent us a little gift, and it is more addressed to me, which is only because I think he had to pick someone. Sent us a little gift. I have not watched this yet, which is a hint to maybe what it is. But I'm excited to watch it with you guys live on stream.
It might chop on my end is the only problem. I think my.
Do you want me to send it to you?
Sure, and then I can just post it up on the. If you want to put it in the Slack, and I can just throw it up on screen.
Sure.
Ryan,
just make sure you're sharing. No. Can't you share it with us? Share your screen and then share.
I guess I could do that. Yeah.
Here, I'm going to send.
Ooh, cameo. I really like this. Let me.
Yo, don't tell him. Don't tell him. Keep it a secret.
Well, here's crap. Hold on. I need to unpair this now. Crap. Let me try this again. I have to open it into like a new window. Here's the problem. I have 2 monitors, and you're saying don't show it to him, but I've got to put it in a second window away from all my other tabs. Yeah, okay. They're going to see it first before I share it.
That's fine. It's fine. Just show it. Just make it work.
Okay.
It's okay if it's not a complete secret.
I'm trying not to accidentally close. All right, let's put it right here. Let's get you guys up here. Share screen. You need to give me the permission to share.
That is a good note. I can't. Post tools. Oh my gosh. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Okay. Here we are. Share. All right. Now here we go.
Make sure you share sound, because I think as a default I don't hear sound. More.
Let's see here. Audio. Select a speaker. Where do I do that?
More, maybe? Is there a more option for you?
Yeah, there is. Share computer sound, stereo high fidelity. Okay, cool. Here we go.
This is for Jeremy, who once tweeted out that he wanted me to narrate the mundane things he does in his everyday life. Jeremy's about to send an email, and it's gone. Another successful segue by Jeremy. What a podcast. Oh, man. Jeremy does one last check for spelling, holds it a second, hits send. Got him. With another tweet. Well, there's just another great disc golf game for Jeremy Reisman. Jeremy looks over his article, pauses a beat, submits it, closes all of his browser tabs, walks away from his computer. Listen to the appreciative roar from this big crowd. That's it. Another show binge. Watched by Jeremy. Heck of a job. That many can stay that dedicated for that long, for that many episodes. Nice question. Hey, Jeremy, I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoyed being on your podcast. And, hey, if I can narrate any other mundane things you do in your life, I'll be glad to do it. Take care.
Fantastic.
That was amazing.
Okay, so the thing I want to say coming out of that video is Dan Dickerson's not getting paid enough to do what he does if he's doing cameos.
Agreed.
That's fair.
Dan Dickerson needs to be paid more is my big takeaway. Also, what a professional.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Didn't even skip a beat. Just
So
like I
good.
was listening to the Tigers radio network.
So shout out to the Talking Great fellas for doing
Hell
that. As I mean, they already contributed to us with their generous Movember donation, so they didn't need to gift us anything in return for them being on the podcast. But very, very nice of those guys. That was something that I had tweeted about, and I was excited to see that Dan Dickerson was on Cameo, and I couldn't believe that he was, mostly for what Ryan just said. But that was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
All right, do we want to get to it?
He's doing them
mean-
for $50?
Yeah.
I should pay for a bunch of those. Jeez.
Dan, know your
Dan.
worth, man.
Dan.
Like,
Dan.
he needs to be charging $500.
Let's give people his cameo. Just hey,
Yeah.
Like, Luxtables. Doing them for the love of the game.
why is his cameo D Hill 58? What does that mean?
Big
I don't know.
fan of former Tigers prospect Derek Hill.
Is
I mean, obviously
Dickerson,
the
is
DD.
Dickerson a screen name? Is Dickerson a show name?
The DD is easy to figure out. I have no idea what the Hill 58 is. Was he born in
Dan
1958?
Dickerson Hill high school maybe?
Derek Hill is number 58.
Oh, Hill's his middle name. There we go.
No.
Oh, okay.
And he was
I
born in
just usually don't see
1958.
the first last initials before the first
Right.
middle name, but
What a coincidence.
so real quick before we go back, because I know I caught Jeremy watching golf the other day too.
Yep.
Mostly
Ryan
because,
did
like-
not like my snarky tweet, and so he snarky tweeted back at me.
I did with your frickin' sports ball tweet. You should be ashamed of yourself. You idiot.
To be fair, I was a little ashamed of myself.
I should be. I miss all this stuff not being
Because I know you hate
fucking-
that. And I was like,
I do.
Look at what
I
you've
do.
become.
I don't know what came over me in the moment. I had golf on all day. It was in on the background. I wasn't paying a ton of attention to it, but I think I was with everyone, and it was just like, everyone keeps shooting terribly. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Oakmont is notorious. It what was it? Was it 2006, 2007? The U.S. Open was there, and Tiger. No. 2006 was Winged Foot. I think it was 07. It was 07, and Tiger fucking Woods, shot, I think 6 over. Like the U.S. Open is usually they select the most difficult. It's usually the most difficult major of a year, and they select courses that a lot of these guys on the PGA who are used to just mashing the ball, you can't do that. And it's why the journeymen always are able to get into the game, because if you have courses that go towards, par or over par for most of the time, then they just get to sneak around and hang around. And guys like Rory McIlroy can fuck up because they don't choose the right club and start smashing things because they're pissed off.
You know what my favorite part?
Rory had a terrible first 3 rounds, and I think his last round he shot something Yeah, he shot a 67 and pieced the fuck out immediately.
My favorite part of Sunday was realizing that golf can have officiating issues as well. Like, I never knew that was a thing in golf, where I don't remember who the golfer was, but like, he was clearly standing in a huge puddle of water.
Yes,
and the guy was like, "No, you got to play it."
That was Sam Burns, the water relief. He got denied that, and they double bogeyed the hole.
Right. He asked one officiant who's like, "No, you got to play that." He's like, "No, I need a second opinion. Bring me someone else." They say, "Nope, you got to hit that." And then he immediately like hits a huge puddle of water, duffs it like way left or something, and you can just see how pissed he is at the officiating, which I'm like, okay, golf is a sport. Like,
so
they got the guys hating the officials. This is it.
So it's funny you say that, and this is something I don't think I've shared with Jeremy yet, that my father is a USGA official.
No, I know.
He was actually officiating. He was officiating Oakmont this weekend. He was there for his birthday. His birthday was on Thursday, and Father's Day was on Sunday. I think he left on Sunday, but I even said, "Oh, I'll make sure to keep the U.S. Open up, and maybe I'll see you on TV." And he specifically told me, "I really hope I'm not on TV because the only time you see rules officials on TV at a golf event is usually when something has gone terribly wrong."
It sounds like he just missed out on his 15.
Well, I think
minutes?
it looks. I think it almost looked like him on one of the screenshots, so I have to call him this week because I also run an over/under segment on Fox Sports Radio that's kind of goofy, and I did make them wager on times my dad appears on TV on Sunday over/under half a second. So I think it looked like him, but I don't know. And my mom was like, "Oh yeah, he was like back in Toledo on Sunday." So like I need to double check. I think Ryan would actually. I gotta key in Ryan sometime for this over under. I do.
Over under.
Yeah, it's an over under, but we do it in a weird way. So I think like I've done like half a choke sign. I'm trying to pull up what we had for this past week real quick. I know we got to get back.
Oh, there's basketball tonight, huh?
Yeah. After not having one on Sunday, which feels like a complete waste.
I'm done. I'm done with the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
I do not enjoy those games.
Ryan, the one I gave out was times my dad will appear on TV half a second. Days until the Knicks hire a coach over under 7.5 full days. And then the college.
That's been going on for a while.
I know. Well, I wanted to set the deadline before the draft, but who knows? And then College World Series Jello shot count for the winner over under 7,000.
A lot of Jello shots.
LSU's in the tournament, so they're already at like 10,000.
Yeah, apparently the Arkansas pitcher threw a no-hitter, so that's cool.
Yeah, Arkansas's got a good team. Coastal Carolina
19 strikeout no-hitter.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
I buried the lead a little bit there. Why don't you want to watch the Stanley Cup Finals anymore, Jeremy?
Because this is what's going to happen in Game 6 and maybe a Game 7. The Florida Panthers dominate for 2.5 periods, and then can the Oilers get their shit together long enough to tie it up and maybe have a chance in overtime, or are they just going to continue to get demolished?
But Leon Draisaitl!
But
it's like entertaining to watch, though.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
What is not entertaining?
What is not? Wait, Jeremy, are you shitting on playoff overtime hockey?
I am shitting on a very clear discrepancy between both teams in the championship.
What, that one is clutch and the other is good?
One is good. I don't even believe that one is clutch. One is lucky that they have this late spurt in kind of being.
Oh, I think call that clutch.
I agree.
No.
I agree with that. I agree with Edmonton, like not having their stuff together for 3 periods of hockey, like ever.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage. I don't like that Marchand is like actually a good hockey player right now. He's a goon. He's not supposed to be able to deke someone like he did last game.
Well, no, the best part of that, though, is that it was Jake Wallman. So, like, I love how Jake Wallman has been like, oh.
But you hate the Red Wings, so you love that kind of stuff.
I love the discourse surrounding Steve Eiserman's decision. So when it's like, I can't believe he traded Jake Wallman. Look how good he is. And then it's like, oh, Jake Wallman's a scrub. Like, did you see him acting unprofessional by squirting that water bottle? And then it's like, oh, Jake Wallman scored a goal. He's awesome. Eiserman messed up. And then it's like, oh, Jake Wallman got, toe dragged by Brad Marchand. He sucks now.
So you're saying you're enjoying this?
No, hold on. I want to dig a little bit into Jeremy's here. Is this only with hockey, or is this a policy you have across sports? Like, if the Lions don't have their shit together for three quarters, but like Jared Goff does what he does against the Texans and comes back in it, like, that's bad too?
If that is how a team is regularly winning, coming back by 3 scores in the fourth quarter, yes.
Not sustainable.
That is not sustainable. That is not a good football team.
Okay, but I'd liked winning with that team too. Are you trying to tell me 2016 wasn't fun for you?
It was fun, sure.
But
this isn't good hockey game. Like it is. If I have to tune in to a 4-1 game with 5 minutes left, and that's the only time it feels like it might be a competitive game, that is not a good hockey game.
It just means the game starts later.
Yeah, that's called basketball.
Yeah, what's...
I forgot about this stage. Nothing matters in basketball until the final 5 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
Isn't that the Desus? Isn't that the Desus?
I'm just going to piss off every sport right now.
Last 5 minutes, Desus will go, Knicks game is on.
But the funny thing is that it kind of did apply to the last game in OKC, Indiana. Because that game flipped. I definitely thought Indiana was going to win that game.
I didn't watch any of that game.
Yeah. Indiana had it and it was at home too. Like, it definitely felt like they were going to win that game, and then SGA just scored a lot of points. That's on tonight, right?
Basketball's on tonight.
NBA's on tonight. Fucking end this one already.
That's what you're saying. All right.
I shouldn't be losing the interest in the NBA Finals like I have, because this is extremely high-level basketball, but, like, I don't know. I think, Ryan, watching the Pacers choke that one away was kind of like, you know what, I'm good.
So good that we're going to go back to the podcast.
Yeah. All right, let me pull up everything.
As Nick the Greek says, can't believe you guys are wasting our time talking about baseball and hockey when there has not even been 20 minutes of off-season fast food talk. There has been 20 minutes.
We are pretty close.
Where were you? and reading your your messages about nacho cheese and ice cream sundaes count as food talk.
Yeah. Well, they only donated two bits for that, so we weren't even supposed to, reference it.
He basically threw 2 pennies for you, pennies at you, and you danced for them.
I'm teaching summer school. Like, I am a whore.
All right.
Not a lot of opportunities to make money in this line of work.
I can't remember the last time. I don't even know if we have Listcast music in here. We're recording this without hearing anything, and it'll be dropped into Audition, if it still exists, which is the big problem. We haven't done Listcast in so long, I don't even know if I have the music still on the hard drive, or if I just decided to just completely destroy it because we would never need it again.
Maybe we should ask our fans to create a new one, if they want.
But I like the old one. The old one's great.
But if you can't find it, that doesn't matter.
I think we should have Dan Dickerson do it.
That's a tease from what happened in between segments here. Thank you, Talking Grit. Really, though, this is just kind of like talking about NFC North quarterbacks and kind of how the division ranks out. So, how would you rank the 4 NFC quarterbacks right now between Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, J.J. McCarthy, And I do have a note here, and I know this rundown was written by Ryan, and that we will address Malik Willis later on.
I mean, it's a fair conversation to have. I think I think all of us agree that Jared Goff is number one. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Right now, yes.
okay. All right. Well,
I think
I guess,
by body of work, by everything that's gone on so far, yes.
well, I guess my question then would be, other than Bill Barnwell, who would not have Jared Goff as like the top quarterback on this list? And I guess Adam Rank. Um, but like, I guess the question is like, is it bias that we have Jared Goff ranked as number one, or like consensus? Do you think most people would agree that Jared Goff is the best quarterback in the NFC North?
I think if you're putting here's the thing, because I really want to like give some more to Caleb Williams, and when we start talking about bias, yes, I think there's bias for us putting Jared Goff number one, but I think there's also bias because I see it from Lions fans about not wanting to admit when another team has a good player, and like I think that's going on with Caleb. I think some people are jumping the shark a little bit too quickly on Caleb Williams. That is absolutely warranted, but at the same time, like if you want to start thinking that this is going to be the year that some of that talent starts to evince itself, especially with a coach that doesn't make him watch film alone, with an overhauled offensive line and everything that Ben Johnson brings to that forefront. Yeah, I think, and all the talent that we know Caleb Williams has, like I'm not upset at people putting Caleb Williams above Jared Goff. Because as much as we, like, I think those people are looking towards the ceiling Caleb Williams is supposed to have, we also, I think, sometimes diminish the games where Jared Goff is bad, too. And the last view of us in the playoffs was Jared Goff being not good. And we see what that is, Ryan, when Jared Goff has his off game.
You don't have to convince me. I was the one who at the live show said that Jared Goff would be the reason why. I'm just kidding.
You're going to keep living on that.
Caleb Williams is not in this conversation. Not if anyone has him one overall in this division, they are a homer of the worst design. He has done nothing to earn it. You have to earn it. I understand the potential is there, but he has to go out there and do it. He did not have a good rookie season. Yes, there are a lot of things outside of his control that are to blame. But how can you credit him? How can you put him first? Like there's no rationale for that unless you're just. I mean, he didn't even win at USC. Like I understand the potential is there. I understand. Listen, I have him third. Kind of, like to me, I don't think there's any question about the order. Like I barely think it's debatable. I think it's Jared Goff. I think it's Jordan Love. I think it's Caleb Williams, and then it's the guy that we haven't seen play football. Like you can't put J.J. McCartney anything other than fourth. Like that's how this works. You might think that in the future those are going to change, and we'll have that conversation either today or when the proper time comes. But you have to judge people on their body of work, and Caleb Williams does not have a body of work in the NFL that's worthy of consideration beyond 3 in this division.
I think the other thing that was a disservice to Caleb Williams in his rookie season was, oh man, he is set up to succeed. He is set up to be productive. He is set up better than any other rookie quarterback has ever been set up because he has DJ Moore and they got Keenan Allen and they have DeAndre Swift and they have Cole Kmet. And it's like, oh man, has any rookie quarterback ever gone into a better situation? And I'm not saying it's all to Caleb Williams' fault, but he did not deliver on, being that productive godsend of a quarterback that Chicago has been waiting for forever. So I agree with your rankings, Jeremy. I have them set up similarly, even though Jordan Love is an imposter. And I think there needs to be a real conversation about, like, what has he really done to be, like, in the conversation of, because I think that there are a lot of people even going into last season that were like, oh, he's a top 10 quarterback. Like Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback. And
sure.
I think part of our conversation has a lot to do with what have you done Obviously, Jared Goff has been in the league the longest, but Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has been to, you know,
Mm.
a couple of, conference championship games. He's been in the MVP discussion. I don't think any of these guys have been in the MVP discussion, right?
No.
They don't have the body of work that Jared Goff has. But I will go so far as to say that I don't think anything that happens this year is going to change my rankings. I think that next year, Chris, I would have Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, and JJ McCarthy.
I guess I'm the one deviating from this because Caleb Williams is number 2 for me. I disagree with Jeremy. I think that part of what this project is to do is to talk about what we're going to expect in 2025. But I will also say that I'm putting Caleb Williams at number 2, not because I think he's that much better. That's just me saying I just don't think Jordan Love is worth much of much. I have a Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, and I might even right now think of Malik Willis above JJ McCarthy.
All right, now you're just trying to flatter me.
Am I trying to flatter you, or am I just going with my JJ McCarthy hater? That you will never know.
Well, part of this conversation too is it's hard to parse through. We like to make these arguments in a vacuum, right? When we were doing the old list cast, it was take away the surrounding pieces, take away your offensive coordinator. You're just talking about baseline talent, and that's going to be hard because Caleb Williams now has a better offensive line. Now he has an offensive guru as a head coach. Jordan Love has another weapon, right? And JJ McCarthy, he's got a guy who's turned really mediocre quarterbacks into really good performers. And so I think all these guys have a chance to take a big step and be a better quarterback next year. But at the basis of who they are as a quarterback, there's just all these other guys that aren't Jared Goff are so young in their careers that it's hard to know where that baseline is if you take away all those surrounding parts. Because you look at a guy like Jordan Love, if you watch some of the passes he makes, they are jaw-dropping. He makes some really, really incredible throws, but then in between that, he makes some really dumb mistakes, some really big mental errors. He's you want to talk about Jared Goff making mistakes in the playoffs. Outside of the one slaughtering of the Dallas Cowboys, Jordan Love has had 2 terrible playoff games where he's made some game-losing decisions. And it's hard to parse through what the real Jordan Love is with 2 seasons now under his belt. That's not a ton to base a quarterback on. We've seen quarterbacks change the trajectory of their career after 2 seasons. Certainly too early to say that about Caleb Williams and obviously with McCarthy as well. So it's tough right now.
It's tough, and I think on the flip side, Ryan talked about the disservice done to Caleb Williams on how he started his career about this is the best situation, and we find out very much so how much that's propaganda and just not true. But then you have to it goes so far the other way when you hear some of the stories out there and some of the decisions the Bears make, let's make the offensive coordinator into the interim head coach, so we take more time away from adjusting him to an offensive scheme to now you've got a plan for game day as well as on top of everything Shane Waldron. It felt. And it's tough because doing this in a vacuum for a quarterback is probably harder than any other position, because now because ultimately at the end of the day I feel like the one we do the scheme least with is probably Jordan Love. But at the same time we've seen the high and low of Jordan Love, and I think when it comes to quarterback there's always the argument of would you rather have the average for a guy or would you rather have the ceiling for someone who's going to play. And I think maybe this is what puts Goff at a disadvantage when we were talking about the quarterback rankings and everything, where he's being paired with Geno Smith and with Brock Purdy. Those are 3 guys who I feel like everyone's all right, I know who they are. Versus shiny toys over here, which could be anything and
right.
Could be. And by the way, of these guys, Jared Goff is the highest in the NFC North for PFF as well, too.
Mm-hmm. And that was the question was would you rather have that shiny thing, whether it's, the ceiling of any of those 3 guys really? Because like you said, Jeremy, I mean, we don't really have enough of a body of work to go off any of these guys to make sweeping conclusions about who they're going to be once they reach their prime. But I think there's something to be said about like the way that I've come around on Jared Goff is like I think you can win with him. Like I think you can win with him. I don't know if he's the guy that will win you games in spite of like how other people are playing, right? And I think that kind of lends itself to the vacuum discussion of like I know Jared Goff is a guy who like if he is at least like adequately protected, like he can deliver the ball on time. Like he can read a defense, he can do things. It's just I don't know if any of these guys I would say are like the game changers, right? And I'm not trying to do the whole like Cam Newton thing right now, but I
Right.
don't know if any of these guys are they can take a cast of middling characters and elevate their games, right? Like I don't think that there any of these guys will ever be considered like a top three quarterback at any time in their careers. Like I truly don't think I can see any of those playing out with Jordan Love, JJ McCarthy, or Caleb Williams, or even Jared Goff. Like, is there a reality, Jeremy, in which like Jared Goff ever enters the he's a top three quarterback discussion?
I mean, the only way it happens is Super Bowls, right? Because there's nothing sexy about his game. Like he's not throwing a ton of deep balls. He's not escaping a lot of pockets, running with, and that's what creates the headlines. But here's the thing: that's not necessarily what makes a good quarterback. To me, the thing that is probably most critical and still somehow goes least talked about is intelligence. It's understanding of the game. It's knowing what you're going to do with the football before the snap even happens. It's why Peyton Manning was as successful as he was. And Jared Goff has a little bit of that in him. And that's why he's so to me front and center the number one guy. He's like he has the experience, he has the intelligence, he has the you know he has his hands on the steering wheel of the offense in a way that none of these other quarterbacks can because they haven't done it in long enough, and that is such a tremendous advantage to win. To essentially win a play before the ball is even snapped. That is something Jared Goff can do, does do quite regularly, and it helps compensate for what is basically average athleticism everywhere else. Like doesn't escape the pocket much, doesn't have a cannon of an arm. It has a pretty good arm, but not like the best in the league. And so that's where he's good. And that's where I think that's why some people are overshadowing that and pointing to a guy like Jordan Love, who's got a little bit of really all three other guys have a little bit of mobility that can bring that to the game. Whereas if they can get the mental aspect of the game right, which is probably the hardest thing to do, and certainly the hardest thing to know from our end, whether they're going to be able to reach that potential, that's where they could enter that conversation of like elite quarterback. Guys that are in that first and second tier of PFF list. I would say every other quarterback in the division has that potential. I'm fairly certain at least two of them won't get there, though. Maybe all three, because it is just that difficult to have the physical tool set along with the mental asset that is required to win this game. And that's the part where I think it's going to be the longest learning curve for a guy like Caleb Williams. Not because I think he's dumb, but because he hasn't been taught the right things for so long in his career that it's going to take a while. If he doesn't know how to watch film, he's not going to walk into Ben Johnson's offense and be like, I got this. Like, it's going to take a long time. That is such a detailed offense to learn.
I think he knows how to watch film, but it's very damning on the Bears where it's like, yeah, none of your coach are going to watch film with you to help you along. And I get that's maybe how some NFL teams do operate. They're like, yeah, what do you mean we got to watch film with you? But like every other rookie quarterback, you should probably have some coaches in there like watching film with you and getting you acclimated from. Like, we all talk about the differences between the college and the pro game, and like suddenly you're not being protected very well, and he wasn't protected well at USC either. But now it's year two, and now you've brought in a whole new coach who has a whole completely different way of doing things. I guess this is like most of the guys except for I think a couple wide receivers, so at least it's year two for that, and he's at least like from everything I've seen proactive on like that stuff. But yeah, it's still.
It's new language, but a new offense means new language. Yeah, new language, new schemes, I mean, how many times when Ben Johnson was here did we hear every single player talk about the attention to detail, the absolute obsession of like having to be every step needs to be the right way. Your arm has to be this angle, like all those sort of stuff. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while for anybody to get used to that system. And I think again, it speaks to Jared Goff that he was able to kind of, as soon as Ben Johnson took over, like it clicked for him because he had 6 years of experience or whatever it was in Los Angeles to adapt to know, match concepts that he had learned in Los Angeles to what they were doing there in Detroit.
So, Ryan, where would you put Malik Willis against these four?
Hi. Let's I want to ask the question about the long-term outlook though, because I want to ask you guys,
Okay.
who do you think has the most to prove this season among these four guys? Because I think you can make an argument for all four of them.
You can. You really can.
I mean, I feel I'm 50-50 on my answer between J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams. But I also understand that, like, J.J. McCarthy, because of the injury and everything else, like, it's basically his rookie year. Again. It's like he's going to be treated like the NFL rookie. So I think that answer is Caleb Williams. And I know that's not great to say on a guy who's year two, but, like, the conception of him right now is this is now, once again, the best setup for a quarterback. The O-line's been overhauled. The entire organization has been overhauled. We called in the Wonderkin and everything else. Now you need to produce. Now you need to produce. Because for right or for wrong, people are going to compare him to how Jaden Daniels did in his rookie year. And if Jaden Daniels continues to ball out in Washington in year two, that's just going to put more pressure on it as well. And the Bears just do not feel like an organization that can just sit around and wait forever as everyone else is trying to. Like, look, like, this division is frustrating and wild to watch in that everyone, I think, wants the fruits of their labor now, right now. Like, the Lions been bucking at this for a while, and fans don't want to hear about how this next year, after coming off 15 wins, might be a step back, even though that might be the reality. I don't know what the mood is for the Packers, but I've got to imagine for Matt LaFleur, it's getting a little long in the tooth about being, like, on paper good, by advanced metrics good, but then just eating dirt in these kind of profile ways that they do, even though they are a young team. Likewise for the Minnesota Vikings, like, they seem to have all this offensive talent, and they went out the way they did last year. And I think they're probably the most secure in it, but they're the ones who are once again going to basically be starting a quasi rookie year, and just going to have to say last year was a medical red shirt for J.J. McCarthy. But now you've got a guy coming off 2 major injuries in his football career. And then there's the Bears, where patience seems to never be something in their playbook. It seems to, it doesn't seem like they're going to come off immediately, and in the first year of Ben Johnson, I don't think there's going to be a lot of patience awarded.
If not, that's ridiculous. Because
no, I agree it's ridiculous, but we know how the mood goes in Chicago, and like, they've kept around some of the old regime in the front office, and, like, you better believe there's going to be a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, it's possible. I still think Jordan Love has the most pressure on him because you can come up with excuses for Caleb Williams not being great this year. I just outlined him, right? He's entering a new system. He finally has a staff that is on paper supporting him. That doesn't turn around overnight. It just doesn't. With J.J. McCarthy, you have all the excuses in the world. Rookie season, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's a fair amount of pressure, I think, on Jared Goff, right? Like, it's proved that it wasn't Ben Johnson, prove that you can win in the playoffs, prove that you can actually win a Super Bowl. But and
no Frank Ragnow. Like, I think that
right, sure,
is more added pressure, right?
Yes.
Like, how cerebral are you?
Right, for sure. But I think with Jordan Love, like, there are no excuses for the Packers not to be good this year. They had defensive problems 2 years ago. They got a new coordinator who's got things figured out on that side of the ball. Didn't have a good wide receiving core. Didn't have a good wide receiving core. Spent a first round pick on one. Yeah. You have one of the best running games in the NFL. Okay, he was injured last year. Fine, let's use that as an excuse. Not injured this year. Let's see it. Let's see this heralded quarterback that you paid a lot of money to 2 years ago before he had really gotten the resume to deserve that sort of contract. Show me that you were worth it. Show me that you can put it up consistently. Show me that you can win big games. Show me that you can win in the playoffs and play good football in the playoffs and make good decisions and not just throw the deep ball up. Did you know that Jordan Love's average depth of target was 9.2 last year compared to Jared Goff's 7.2? That's not how you win football games today. I'm sorry. There are a lot of too high defenses. If you are constantly chucking the ball up deep, that is not the kind of nuance that you need to be a good NFL quarterback. And I'm not saying low ADOT means good quarterback necessarily, but extremely high ADOT I don't think is necessarily a good way to win in the NFL. There are some good quarterbacks that have gotten away with that sort of ADOT in the modern era of football, but I think with the way things are trending, Jordan Love is going to have to evolve beyond a quarterback that just chucks it up deep. And maybe that's not an 100% fair characterization of his game, but as someone who has been on the other side of watching him chuck the ball up against the lines a million times and either hoping for a miracle catch or a flag, it's a pretty big part of his game. And I think it needs to be reduced a little bit, and I think he needs to slow his roll a little bit there.
And I think part of that pressure, and I agree, is probably the one with the most pressure on him, if not Jared Goff. But like, Jordan Love absolutely got crowned pretty early. And again, I think a lot of that has to do, again, that the stats that he is good at are the stats that appeal to a newer wave of football writers on the national level. Like, he's being touted by the people who like the more analytical, by a lot of the next gen stat stuff, by more analytical approaches. You know, there's we can laugh about the Toyota-thon all you want, but like you mentioned ADOT, and people like the that stuff being high. And I forget the other stat that people would talk about him with, but like he was pretty well crowned, Ryan. He was pretty well crowned pretty quickly on how quickly, and there was all the talk about the Packers had done it again. They had done it again. And as I said, I feel like the pressure is on the Packers because they're kind of getting left in the shadows a little bit between how good the Lions are, between the hope that the Bears are some sort of a rising juggernaut with everything going their way, and with the Vikings just being awesome with Kevin O'Connell as their coach. I think a lot of the promise of the Packers is based on that Jordan Love will continue to do these specific things, but as we said, like, he's had some extremely bad down moments too.
Yeah, I just think he's one of the more like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde quarterbacks in the NFL that I don't think that gets. I don't know. I've seen the ugly of Jordan Love, and I've also seen the really good of Jordan Love, right? Like, I know when Jordan Love's on fire and his hair's on fire, I can understand how he looks awesome. And when he has games on that national stage, like Jeremy said, you know, when you beat up on the Cowboys in a way on national television in a playoff game in the way that you do, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like this guy, right? But then we fall into the same thing sometimes that we do with Caleb Williams, where it's like, oh, you know, the Bears have never had a good quarterback. They're never going to have a good quarterback. Whereas with the Packers, it's like, oh, I can't believe that they're going to get another Hall of Fame quarterback right after just having two in a row. So I do think there's a lot of like crown too early, but I think this has to be the line where it's like, okay, how much more help does Jordan Love need? I mean, they went out, they got the receiver in the first round, right? And it's like,
made a huge deal of it when they were announcing the pick.
Yeah, so, and I mean, it happened in Green Bay. It's like, I'm done with the Packers have so many good wide receiver twos, they actually have enough. They don't need a wide receiver one. This feels like the year where it's like, I think he has the most to prove. I think with J.J. McCarthy having the injury, I do think it was really weird all season long that it was like, well, maybe Aaron Rodgers. Like, Aaron Rodgers, maybe? It's like, okay.
I feel like that was coming from Rodgers' camp, though. Like, he wanted to play for Minnesota.
I'm just going to be very intrigued to see how J.J. McCarthy can take the reins over for a 14-3 football team. Because, again, like, yes, we can poo-poo on Sam Darnold all we want, but, like, at the end of the day, like, there's just so much to an NFL playbook that, like, I get you can absorb a lot of it, but it's another thing to go out and do it.
And I feel like we are giving a lot to Kevin O'Connell to the point where it's demeaning of what Sam Darnold did last year, where it's just assumed, yeah, you'll just put in J.J. McCarthy and he'll do the same thing that Sam Darnold did.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it's never. I mean, the pendulum swings both ways, but I think that people get in those extremes, right? Where it's like,
Right.
well, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like Kevin O'Connell can work some magic, Sam Darnold can make some plays, but like, you know, I don't want to say like, oh, it's all Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy is going to be incredible because, you know, Kevin O'Connell and look what Josh Jobs did. You know, Josh Jobs, the Pastronaut, he was awesome because Kevin O'Connell. I mean, that wore off real quick.
Yeah. I mean, Sam Darnold had what, like 60 some games of experience before he came to Minnesota. Like,
That's what I mean.
There was
That's
a
a lot of
foundation to
reps.
work on there. There's not that with McCarthy yet.
Yeah.
So I think, but I think the larger point is on Jordan Love. I don't see him having the biggest leap potentially out of all these quarterbacks, but I could absolutely see him having probably the biggest drop, Ryan. Like, I could see him dropping pretty far in all of our, like, I mean, I have him third, but you guys have him too, but, like, I could easily see him dropping down, like, depending on how the rest of the season goes, like, he could easily be dropped down probably the farthest.
Yeah, I think just by definition, probably. Like, I think he has the most to prove, but he also has like the most to lose
Yes.
at the same time. Like, the Bears aren't going to give up on Caleb Williams. Like, the Vikings, I don't think will give up on JJ McCarthy.
Right.
The Lions can't give up on Jared Goff.
Can't and won't.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And you got Malik Willis in that room. So, I mean,
There it is. But I do think,
No, for me, it's almost not about Jordan Love dropping. It's more about one of those other guys jumping over him, right? I mean, I don't think Jordan Love is a bottom tier quarterback. I don't think he's going to turn out to be a bottom tier quarterback. I think, you know, if I had to guess right now, probably like battling top 10, but not solidified as a top 10 guy. That's how I've seen his play so far, because of like Ryan said, there are those flashes of brilliancy, but there's far too many Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. So,
can I throw names at you and like would you put him above or below Jordan Love?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Tua.
Tua's below.
Yeah, that ship sailed on Tua. He's below.
Dak Prescott.
Dak's better.
I agree. Like, I think people are really crapping on Dak a lot just because he's the Cowboys quarterback, but like, I've seen good Dak. Like, and as much as people want, like, I've seen good Dak. I would take Dak over Love.
Okay. Kyler Murray.
That's a real tough one.
I'm taking Love.
I think
don't
I'm taking
like it.
Love too, but
I don't like it. I'm taking Love.
There's a lot of Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in
Murray as well.
him as well, and yeah.
CJ
Stroud.
These are tough.
I think I'm taking Stroud, but that one is also very tough. They both have just small.
He took a lot of sacks last year, and I understand that, but
Yeah.
I think he can figure that out.
And there's just two more names that I'll throw at you, like Trevor Lawrence.
Don't make me do this one. I'm
with Trevor Lawrence. I'm holding out that at some point Jacksonville is going to get their crap together and get everything that they should get out of Trevor Lawrence. So I'm still taking Trevor Lawrence. But I understand, like, I'm seeing the memes now that are like comparing Trevor Lawrence's career to like these bottom tier quarterbacks, and I understand the stats look bad, but maybe it's just me. I still believe in Trevor Lawrence.
Listen, as much as I root for Trevor, just because otherwise that 2021 quarterback draft class is going to go down as probably the worst crop of quarterbacks ever, with Lawrence, Wilson, Trey Lance,
Certainly
Justin
like worse
Fields,
compared to like their hype,
Mac
right?
Jones. Yeah, like, but that's what I mean. Like five guys who all went in the top 15.
Yeah,
And like, I can't.
hit rate pretty terrible.
My God, dude. But I can't do it. I can't, and I have no faith in him under Liam Cohen. And I get bamboozled. I've been bamboozled too many times by the Jaguars and what they set up. I'm out. You know, this is Shark Tank. I'm out. I'm out on Trevor Lawrence. Give me begrudgingly, and I hate it, and I will try to trade it whenever I can. But give me Jordan Love.
O'Connell would have him as in the MVP in year 2.
By week 6, Trevor
There
Lawrence
is also
MVP.
there is also a durability question now, I feel, with Trevor Lawrence.
Maybe a little bit.
And the last name is Baker Mayfield, and I'm taking Baker Mayfield.
It's not even
Baker,
close.
100%.
It's not even close. Baker's a top 10 quarterback.
It's insane that Baker Mayfield got passed around the league, and I've seen enough Jordan Love games where I'm just like going into the season, I would rather have Baker Mayfield than Jordan Love.
Yeah, right now. But I think Jordan Love could pass him.
I will temper this by saying I've seen some bad stuff by Baker. I've seen points where Baker disappears in a game, but again, he's never going to disappear in the fourth quarter. When he needs that drive, he's going to lock in, and I like that. I've also
seen Baker Mayfield show up and play on Thursday Night Football with 48 hours with the playbook.
Yeah, he's tough as hell, man.
I've also seen Baker Mayfield kick the Lions out of the playoffs by sucking, so.
That's true.
Throwing it straight to Quandre Diggs.
All right.
Yeah, that just proves Sean McVay isn't perfect.
God.
I know it's blasphemous to say, but
we're just talking about bad Lions memories, and for some reason I was going through my bookmark tweets the other day, and I saw from the NFC Championship game the throw that Brock Purdy makes off Kindle Vildor's mask, and Robert Mays from The Athletic goes, "Brock Purdy's just a gamer."
All right, we've thank you all for listening to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, because I'm not about to let this memories of the 2023 NFC Championship game suddenly creep into this godforsaken place. So that's our rankings. Collectively, 1 Jared Goff. 2 of us have Jordan Love at 2. I have Caleb Williams at 2. Flip-flop that Caleb Williams. So it's some disagreement between 2 and 3. And then J.J. McCarthy at the bottom by virtue of he ain't played nobody, Paul.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing next for next listcast? Is there going to be another listcast, or was this just a fun one-off we did?
No, I think the plan is during this dead period that one of the segments will devote to a skill position player.
I feel like we got to do wide receivers sooner rather than later, because I feel like the argument we could do on that is just
Yeah, I think the current plan is not necessarily in this order: running back, wide receiver, tight end, maybe offensive line, and then defense as a whole. Sorry to all the fans of defense, but
maybe just edge guys.
I think just defense as a whole is easier.
All right. Well, we have plenty of that, and that'll probably take us up before you know it, pretty quickly to.
Yeah, training camp's probably about a month away. We still don't have dates, but
I was thinking Hall of Fame game, but yeah.
Training camp starts a week before that, and then we'll have plenty of content to talk about, and hopefully maybe an extension in before then. Love to hear some Aiden Hutchinson or Alex Anzalone or whatever news. Be a good time for it. I'm kind of bored, right. Brad Holmes, just saying.
Yeah, if only anybody was extraordinarily confident that somebody signed an extension.
I do. I've been working on the bones for this, and I know announcing this right at the end of a podcast is never good, but and I haven't even talked to Jeremy about it, but I do have a big project coming. Tell you what, I'm going to save that for an announcement on the next podcast, and maybe the post comes middle of the week. But I do have a project I want to push towards Lions fans. So please check prideofdetroit.com. Subscribe to the Pride of Detroit Direct. Jeremy, mailbag this week?
I believe so. Still working on a date with Eric, but we'll figure it out.
That's right. Ryan, anything else to announce?
No.
Fantastic. For myself, for Ryan, for Jeremy, we'll see you Starside.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
We did it.
Somehow.
Ryan, what are you doing with this Robert Mays tweet? Get out of here.
So here's the thing.
Why you still have a bookmark too?
Oh yeah, he found that real quick too.
Why?
But the thing is he could have 100% been doing a bit, right?
Yeah.
He could have been being sarcastic, but like, I remember being incensed in that moment. Like, obviously, I'm just upset that like things are unfolding the way that they are in that game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, then reading that tweet, like, I'm not reading for sarcasm. I'm reading that some Chicago Bears fan is trying to say Brock Purdy is a gamer because he threw a ball off Kendall Vildor's mask. Like, I wanted to strangle Robert Mays in that moment.
I
wanted to tell him stick to food instead of football.
I feel like I haven't shared the story from that day, but like feeling that good about that first half and jumping in the car and having a text saved to my father who had promised me if the Lions made the Super Bowl, we would get tickets and go. And I had a draft saved to him at halftime. Didn't send it yet, just because I was like careful. But apparently the draft was enough to jinx it. But it was with the Dave Bautista "Give Me What I Want" video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just listening to that on the radio, stuck in traffic trying to get home on 101 to watch the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Was...
I think a lot of us have stories of what we were thinking at halftime, not necessarily even jumping the gun. Like you said, you were being careful about it.
Dude, because I've seen it before, right? I just
Right.
didn't think it would be that day.
I was looking at flights. I didn't book a flight.
Just that tinge was enough. That was enough to really spoil the whole batch.
I can tell you half the Lions bought tickets because that's really what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Buy your plane tickets before the teams have been decided, and then make sure you buy one that's cancelable.
I'm sorry, was that Vegas or was that New Orleans that year? The Super
New Orleans was last year. I think that was Vegas.
So it was Vegas. So like, I didn't even need to buy a plane ticket. I got it fucking driven over there.
Yeah. Anyways, we don't need to continue to talk about this.
Yeah. I'm gonna go home.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take all three of these doggos that I'm watching out.
Let me chat with you real quick off air, Jeremy, just
Sure.
about something. But yeah, I think we will end it there. I can kill the stream. So thank you, everyone. As always, we'll see you later in the week. And not that obvious, thank you for your subscription, Tier 1 for